self-sabotage, and we just don't realize we're doing it.
Right.
And then once we do realize, all those things just slot into place,
Yeah.
and we realize, oh, I've wasted all this time when I could have been even more successful. But yeah, now I know that I can change. I will change, and I'll be able to be that star performer.
Hi, everybody. It's Tricia Chandler, and I am here today with Sue Williams, who's from Victoria, Australia. Sue is a rapid transformational therapist, just like myself, and she has a really interesting niche, and she works a lot with equestrians who are really developing their sport to a higher caliber, and I think it's fascinating. So welcome to my chat, Sue, and I'm glad to meet you today and exchange some ideas about rapid transformational therapy.
Yeah, thank you, Tricia. It's been a wonderful opportunity to come and have a chat with you. Yeah, as we had a little brief pre-chat, obviously, and as I was saying, this is my 5th year doing my sport hypnotherapy practice. And the motto is any athlete, any sport, any team. So I deal with quite a wide range of sports and athletes.
Oh, so it's not just equestrians.
Yeah, no, that's my sub niche, if you can call it that, my specialty, because I'm a competitive horse rider myself. So I saw that was actually what got me into the RTT, was because I saw a need with the horse riders, and then it expanded from there because I know athletes in so many other
Yeah.
sports.
So
So
what
I
do you
thought, well,
find, what do they come to you more often for? I mean, what's the presenting problem?
it's different between the equestrian and the general sport. The equestrians come to me as a last resort generally, for fear and anxiety, because they've invested so much money and time into their sport, especially the money,
Yeah.
but time also, because you're looking after your horse, and then you're doing lessons and you're going places with your horse to compete or just to ride out. And so a lot of time. And if something has happened to them, perhaps they've had a fall, or there's been an incident with the horse. Um, Perhaps they've been away from riding for a while, but have still kept their horse. Maybe they've had a child and they've just been away. The horse has just been what we call a paddock ornament. It's looking very beautiful out there in the field.
Right.
But they've kept the horse, and they think, I used to do so well riding. I'm just going to go back out, hop on this horse and ride off. Doesn't work that way after you've been away for a while, especially the women who have had a baby, because they
Changes
lose
your
their
body.
fitness. Yeah, their body changes so much. And then they hop back on thinking they'll be exactly the same, but their body shape has changed. The way their muscles and tendons are has changed, and they find it quite difficult. And that's when things can go wrong. That's when the fear and anxiety can
Yeah.
also start, apart from just feeling not the way they used to. So
Mhm.
yeah, often the last resort, because they've invested so much money and time, and they come looking for an answer. What can I do to be able to get back into riding as I was before? I used to be really gung-ho. I'd get out there, I'd do the show jumping, the hunter jumper, as you do in America. And now I'm just terrified.
Yeah.
I
I,
get on,
I think
and
that
of
comes
course,
up like after
uh,
you've had an accident or a fall, then there's this
yeah,
fear and
that definitely,
anxiety around that, oh my
yeah,
God,
yeah,
what if it happens? Especially if it's a bad fall, right?
yeah. And the thing is with the horse riding, you've got this extra partner,
Right.
and the partner is affected by you.
Oh, for
So
sure.
if you approach the horse with fear and anxiety, the horse is going to say, "Oh, what's going on here?
Yeah, they're
Why
incredibly
are you
sensitive.
scared? Yeah, if
So
you're scared, I'm going to be scared. And it's this vicious cycle then that the rider makes the horse scared, and then the horse being scared and just spooking at things because they're saying what's going to happen, then that affects the rider. So
right.
yeah,
That's
which is
amazing.
very, very different to the other sports, because generally they come to me for issues. Golfers, they always slice, they always miss the putt. Those things that, that gets embedded psychologically as well,
Mm,
because they repeat that pattern. I
right.
always slice, they tell themselves. They tell their
Okay.
professional who's trying to coach them, oh, I always slice, I always miss the putt.
I
So
always
that's
do
that
that.
negative
Therefore,
mindset.
you do.
Yeah, exactly. The
Right.
basketballers the same. They miss the free throws. Um, they don't know where their teammates are, so they're not efficient in getting the ball and then passing it on. Same thing with footballers. We have Australian football, but we also have rugby and soccer.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, are
and
these athletes you're working with primarily hobbyists or are they professionals?
semi-professionals. One I've had who was a basketball player and was on the Australian youth team going to Europe.
Wow.
He didn't have issues so much. It was just improving his performance because he was with a top class team, obviously, if they'd all qualified for Australia.
You should
So it was just,
get hooked up with the Olympic Committee or something so that you could start
oh,
working with
that would be
world class
amazing. Yes. That's
travel
where
and
I'm headed, wanting to help, because I have published a few issues of articles in international magazines
wow.
with the purpose of saying, well, here is how it can help Olympic athletes.
Hmm.
The hypnotherapy and the just getting that mindset, being able to see in your mind the optimum performance, that just being able to be better than your competition, having that one person who 9 times out of 10 will beat you in whatever sport you're competing in, and saying, no, that's going to change. I'm going to be the one beating you. So it's absolutely that mindset, getting into the subconscious mind, reprogramming so that they can reach peak performance,
Just
especially
kind
in
of
an
gets you
Olympic
out of
year.
your head so that you're not, second guessing and doubting yourself, gets
Yeah.
you over that confidence hoop. I know another RTT therapist in Australia who owns a pole dancing studio,
Oh,
and they do a lot of competition work. And I think, I
wow.
want to say it
Okay.
was last fall, maybe she had coached somebody or, through coming up with routines for like a big competition. And this woman was really struggling hard and had never landed her tricks, or however you refer to
Yeah.
those. I'm probably using the wrong words. Sorry, Tanya. But she worked with this girl through all of her prep work, and in the end, she won the like national championship or whatever the competition was for. Just got her out of her own head so that she wasn't, doubting herself, all of that negative language she was using to talk to herself about how she wouldn't succeed just went away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Because it's what we tell ourselves is what we believe. And the
Yeah,
subconscious mind being so literal. If you're
yeah,
saying all the time, well, I'm not, whatever the movement is, oh, I failed last time, I'm going to fail again this time.
right.
And then what's going to happen? Everyone's going to think I'm hopeless. And then, yeah, oh, yeah, well, I am hopeless because everyone thinks I'm hopeless.
Yeah,
And the more you tell yourself these things, the more it gets embedded.
yeah,
But we know as hypnotherapists that it's really quite easy to turn that around if the person realizes what they're doing,
right.
and you can point it out to them. What do you say to yourself before a competition? Do you get in there and say, I'm the best, I'm going to win, this is my day, my body's going to be in peak performance today,
Yeah.
every muscle's going to do what I ask it? Or do you say, oh, not this again. I've been dreading this competition for the past month. I've been knowing it's coming up, and then no, I just
I
can't
always screw it up. Oh
yeah,
dear.
every time. So it's just amazing the human mind when you get into how it
It
works.
really is. It really
It's
is.
just incredible.
So you've been doing this for a number of years.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And do you work exclusively with kind of in the sports realm?
That's my chosen area to work with, but of course I do have people being referred to me from satisfied clients saying that things like passing the driving test, learning to drive and then passing the test, and they've tried it, 3 or 4 times, failed each time, because in Australia, or in Victoria anyway, we do a computer test first of all the road laws, your time to react for things, and then go out and do the actual driving test in the car.
Right.
And it'll be one of those areas that they fail at every time. Generally, they're okay at one or the other. They can remember the road laws, but they get out in the car and then they panic, even though they have to do 1,000 hours, I think, and log that. But even so, again, the negative mindset. Oh, I've got the guy here testing me, and I'm going to fail. I failed in tests at school, so I'm going to fail this test because I'm, that's the sort of person I am. I always fail tests.
Right. It's that
So,
performance anxiety that,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's, what we're taught from school, the words and pictures you tell yourself are what becomes your reality. So if you really doubt yourself and your ability, you will fail.
Yeah,
And then the more times you fail, the more you believe it, and the more you believe it, the more you fail. So it becomes this
absolutely.
cycle, this never-ending cycle. So
Yep.
that's why mindset work is so huge, and why it's important to really learn to stop negative self-talk, and to just approach yourself and talk to yourself like you are a child. Be
Yep.
kind to yourself like you would a little kid. You wouldn't say to a child, "You're so stupid," but you say it to yourself.
Well, you do.
Like, why don't talk to yourself like that? So if you talk to yourself kindly like you would if you were a child, and really learn to focus your thoughts onto the positive, and fully embrace that, and the words you say, the pictures you hold in your mind, it just becomes your truth.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And why not choose that?
Why not?
Why choose the negative mindset when or we know, that you can choose the positive mindset
Right.
just as easily? It's
I
just
mean, it's
changing
it's
the
really
words.
easy to get into a funk, right? Everybody does it. You're like, I'm feeling really negative and down on myself today, and oh, I'm always so lazy, or whatever crap you have in your head, and you're telling yourself this. So then you just become more and more lazy, and you become more negative, and ultimately you're not having a very good time. You're feeling really down and crummy about life in general. It's an unpleasant way to go through your day. So
Oh, it is.
shake it off, shake it off.
Yeah. And it is a physical thing as well. If you say shake it off, because we know that we hold emotions in our bodies.
Yeah.
So you have to think, is that neck pain that I get, or that back pain, or the shoulder pain? And then I find this with the athletes too, that they'll have a niggling injury they just cannot get rid of. They get the physio, they get the sports coach at wherever they're training at, and they do all the exercises, the stretching, the muscle building, whatever, and they just can't get past this one niggling injury. And then you do the hypnotherapy, and we do finding out where things are held in the body, and it'll be, someone told me, my coach when I was 15 told me, you'll never be any good. And I just happened to sort of have a bit of a strain in that shoulder at the time, and it stuck.
Yeah.
That what the coach said, you'll never be any good at this sport, you're hopeless. So, oh, okay, I'll hold that in here. that's a good place to hold it for the rest of my life.
Just keep it. And
Yeah,
then you look at doing role, function, purpose, intention.
yeah,
And so what is that pain doing for you? It's protecting
mm,
you, it's holding you back, it's punishing you, it's whatever. Maybe it's
yep,
prioritizing your needs. So if my shoulder hurts, it keeps me from having to perform at a different level. So then people will make excuses for me when I screw it up, right? I mean, it can be something like that. So
yep,
if
mm-hmm,
my shoulder is perfect, then and I don't perform perfectly, then there's something wrong with me.
mm.
But if my shoulders hurts and I can use that as an excuse for why I didn't hit that jump correctly, then obviously, well, if only my shoulder wasn't messed up, I mean,
Yeah.
it's kinds of subconscious thoughts, and it's not like you consciously choose to mess up your shoulder and use that as an excuse. Your shoulder genuinely hurts, and maybe you did
Oh yeah.
actually hurt it,
Oh yeah.
of
The
course,
pain's
but
real.
you hang
Mm.
on to it because it has a benefit.
Yes. And once that benefit is revealed and the person thinks, oh, well, that's not really a benefit. It's been trying to do something for me, but it's been holding me back.
Right.
And I find too with the athletes, especially with the ones in the more physical sports, that they'll historically they'll get to a level. I was speaking to a rugby player the other day, and he'd got selected for national teams and very high level teams, like within the country where he was, not in Australia. But he'd got to that level, and then something would happen.
Hmm.
He would injure himself. He had a car crash. He split up with his partner. He turned to drink and drugs. And it was every time when we spoke through it, went back historically, it was every time he got to that level where he was in the team, in the training to be in the team to compete, every time something would happen. And he went,
Oh gosh.
oh. And that light bulb came on over his head, and he said, that's so true. I've never been able to compete in the team because
Something
something
always
inside of
happens.
me has said, no, that you'll never get past this level. You'll never
Because
get
he has
into
this
the team
belief,
and
right, that
compete.
I'm not good enough to compete at this level.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
have no business being here. What am I of all people doing here?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm a fraud,
That's,
right?
yeah, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
So that
It was a
self-doubt.
mistake. They shouldn't have chosen me for the team because I always screw it up.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mhm.
And once he realized that, it was like, I mean, his face just changed. He said, oh, that's what it's been. I've
Yeah.
never realized that, and now it's so clear. So it is
Yeah. And
amazing
once you
how we,
realize what that belief is that limits you,
yeah,
you
it's a
can just simply change it,
self-sabotage, and we just don't realize we're doing it.
right?
And then once we do realize, all those things just slot into place,
Yeah.
and we realize, oh, I've wasted all this time
Mhm.
when I could have been even more successful. But yeah, now I know that I can change. I will change, and I'll be able to be that star performer.
Mhm.
So
It's a brilliant,
yeah,
brilliant thing, I
yeah,
think. And it's got such a wide applicability to so many things. Like I work with narcissistic abuse, and an awful lot of what I do is anxiety, depression, self-doubt, self-love, all of these limiting beliefs that I'll never have a genuine person who actually loves me for me because I'm not worthy.
mm,
Nobody will possibly love me. My needs will never be met because they were never met when I was a child. So
yeah.
why would I expect a partner to do that for me? And all of this stuff, and it just keeps them stuck, and they have no idea how to move forward and how to get out of that. And it
And the
stems
crazy thing
from,
is, we get comfortable in our discomfort
yeah,
because we, as humans, we really dislike change.
you seek what
So
is
even,
familiar.
yeah, that's right. And even though we're feeling absolutely shocking, we feel depressed, anxious, all these other negative emotions and feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we're feeling that every day, we're comfortable knowing, yeah, I'm going to get up today, I'm going to feel terrible, I'm going to feel so anxious, I'm not going to want to go out the front door, but because that's so familiar to me, that's okay.
It's the
But
known entity rather than the unknown of possibility, right?
that's right. And
You'll choose
if
the
you can,
hell you currently know rather than the potential for something better every
yeah,
time.
yeah,
And though
that's
you
right.
desperately want something better, you don't believe it's possible. So it holds you back.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why I wish people would look to hypnotherapy more, because as we both said, often it's that very last thing that they can possibly try.
Yeah.
You know,
Like,
even the
well, I've
talk
tried this, I've
therapy.
tried this, I've tried this, I've tried this.
Yeah,
Nothing worked.
yeah,
Well, what else is there? Let's try this.
yeah.
And then
So
do you ever have
it's,
people say to you, why didn't I try this first?
oh yes.
Right.
Yeah, they said, oh, look, I've spent so much money on other types of therapy. I was working with a lady who was going to her psychologist once a week for 5 years, and she was still the same.
Yeah.
I'd worked with her that entire time. She hadn't changed. She was still anxious, nervous.
Yeah.
Um, you know, if something upset her, she would go and throw up. And you're thinking, well, why are you going and talking about this thing that's upsetting you every week? 4
Picking
p.m.
at
on
the
a
scab.
Thursday, you talk for an hour about this thing that upsets you.
You're just picking at that scab over and
Yeah,
over again.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I think there's a lot of validity to talking things through with a talk therapist or whomever. However, when most of these things are seated deeply within your self-conscious, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? I mean, I've worked with people with severe anxiety, like they have panic attacks on a daily basis to the point where they can barely keep food down in their stomach because they throw up, or they have, IBS, diarrhea, what have
Yes.
you.
Yep.
They're so anxious, the vacuum cleaner gives them a panic attack, like they just basically are non-functional. And I'll
Yep.
see them 2 or 3 times and they're fine. Meanwhile,
Mm,
the same client has been seeing a talk therapist for years and it's
yeah.
never gotten any better. Plus
Mm.
they put them on all these medications and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, it's just not necessary.
Mm.
It's absolutely
But
not necessary.
yeah. And it's just what we expect from
Mhm.
our medical system,
Well,
because
yeah, I
Australia is
mean, a
the
lot
same
of
as
it
the
is,
US.
it's just
Yeah.
band-aids. You're putting band-aids on
Yeah.
things. And the
Mm.
anxiety isn't actually the problem. It's the symptom of,
Symptom. Mm.
so why would you medicate a symptom when you need to get at the root? So
Mm.
if you get at that root issue, what's causing the anxiety, you can get rid of it. And that's true of really any problem, depression or performance anxiety, or any of these things.
Yeah. And even physical things like high blood pressure,
Mhm.
that can be caused by having anger within you, and
Yes.
you're holding it in, and the effort of holding it in is just
Yes.
causing your blood pressure to go through the roof.
Right.
And again, the doctor will give you medication to try and bring the blood pressure down, but you're not treating that cause, which is ongoing.
Right.
So
It's,
just,
it's a poor diet, it's no exercise, it's
yeah.
holding in your
Mm,
feelings, it's swallowing your feelings. It's just being chronically angry, upset, stressed, overworked, overtired, all of these things. That's what causes the blood pressure or the
yeah.
anxiety or the depression or whatever it is.
Mm,
So once you can get at what's going on between your ears, you can fix it. I know I did a weight loss session with Marissa. So I was the client. And she said to me, and this was always stuck with me. She said, darling, if we don't fix what's between your ears, you will always regain that weight over and
yep.
over again.
Mm-hmm.
You'll lose it for a little while. Diets do not work. And so once you lose that weight, the problem remains So of course you gain it back.
Yeah.
And I thought that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it did take me, I think 5, 6, 7 sessions. I forget now how many I did on weight before it actually really got all of it out.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Weight loss and smoking are two of the most, well, I wouldn't say difficult, but
They're
can be
complex.
more time consuming because they
There's
indicate
layers of,
problems that are really deep.
yeah. And I think,
Yeah.
because I did so many different weight loss sessions for my own issue, early on, I thought, well, this isn't even working. And then I did the session with Marissa and it worked kind of for a while. And then I did a couple more. And it wasn't until I did the last one that I recognized all of it was just peeling off layers, basically. And I've
Yeah.
had so much trauma throughout my life from childhood through adulthood. And it was like every session was kind of disconnecting the associations between my eating behaviors and the trauma. And it was making the disconnects one at a time. It's like going around the house and unplugging all the appliances.
Mm.
There's still power running, but until you get them all out, it's not completely done. And that's what
Yeah.
was happening. So with each session, one thing was disconnected. And then when I did that last one, there was this massive, like, oh, light bulb moment for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm never going back that way.
No. Oh no. That's the amazing thing. Once you've realized and you start to accept and just be able to see why it's affected you and how it's affected you, but now realize that you can overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the genius of hypnotherapy.
It really is.
Yeah, and you can go so deep. And I think people who have never been exposed to it, who don't know anyone who actually is a practitioner, they go by the stage hypnosis and they say, well, why
Yeah.
would I want to bark like a
Yeah.
dog, cluck like a chicken, and look like an idiot? Why would I want to do that? And you say, well, that's entertainment.
It's not.
That's like karaoke. You go up there and you make yourself look stupid, whatever. But this is the clinical part of it that actually physically and mentally can help you overcome issues that you've had, make your life better.
Right. I think,
Be
TV
open
and
to the
movies
change.
has really done a number on people's perception of the field of hypnosis. And
Yeah.
they don't understand it. They think it's some kind of stage joke. It's not
Or
real.
mind control.
Mhm.
Someone's going to
Oh
take over
yeah.
my mind.
I get the
Yeah.
mind control question a lot, especially from people that are very Christian. Um,
Yes.
And I get that a lot. Like, well, my pastor says that I'm not allowed to do something that controls my mind. That's against my religion. I'm like, I'm not controlling your mind. You're controlling your mind. I'm just
Mm.
helping you understand the way you think.
Yeah.
No mind control here, right? But it's a common perception amongst especially religious people, and they
Mm.
believe that they can't do it. It's against their religion. It's magical thinking. It's the work of the devil, whatever nonsense
Yeah.
they believe.
Yeah.
And it's just simply not true.
Mm. And I did read something recently which was quite interesting. It was brought up in a group of hypnotherapists. Um, this very thing about people who are quite religious and have been told, work of the devil, this hypnosis, never do it. And this person who was speaking said, and that was because these religious people use hypnosis. They use the fervent prayer. They use
Yeah. It's
um,
hypnotic
the
language that they drop.
yeah, the hypnotic language, absolutely. So they actually are using hypnosis over their flock, whatever you
Yeah, and
like.
then beyond that, there's this like fear mongering that goes on. You're going to go to hell. The devil's going to take your soul, whatever they believe. And so they're made to fear doing anything that doesn't go along with the faith.
Yeah.
Yet
Mm,
this has nothing to do with faith, religion, God,
no.
anything. It's
No.
a natural state of the brain, a natural state that you go in and out of throughout the day.
Yeah.
We're just amplifying it to your benefit. There's no mind control that goes on. There's no
Yeah.
magic. There's nothing. It's normal, natural human behavior.
Yeah, I always point that out to people when I'm talking about hypnosis too, that we are in and out of trance all day.
Yeah.
It's perfectly natural. It's that,
Daydreaming,
yeah,
driving.
driving. Yeah, you're reading a really interesting book. You get absorbed into it.
Yeah. And you don't even notice that you're like, oh my God, it's 3 hours later. I was only going to
That's
read.
right.
That's a form of hypnosis. Yeah.
Yeah, of course it is. And
Yeah.
people don't realize that until you point it out, and they say, "Oh, yeah, I've experienced that myself. I've
Oh, yeah,
left
because they think they're going to
work."
be catatonic and you're going to
Oh,
make them,
yeah,
fall in love with the broom, and you can make them, dance or get naked on stage or whatever they think you're going to
yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
None of that's real. I mean,
No,
if you would normally just strip down to your underwear and quack like a duck, then sure, I can make you do that. But I'm not going to, because that's not therapeutically useful.
no. And as I was going to say, that when you're talking to people and you explain that, and they say, "Yeah, well, I know I've been at work and I've had a really busy day and my mind's just whizzing around," and then I'm thinking, well, I have to get home in time to go and pick up the kids, and then I have to work out what we're going to have for dinner, and blah blah blah. And they're in the car driving home, and they go to the front door, and how did I even get here?
Right.
I've driven from work to home,
Mhm.
and I don't remember a minute of it.
Did I go
And you
down this
say, yeah,
street
well,
or that street? You don't
yeah,
recall. Like, which way did I go? I
yeah,
don't know. I don't have any memory
that's
of
right.
that drive. It
Yeah,
just went on autopilot, and it's your
yep.
subconscious mind that's taken over.
Yeah, because your conscious mind's so busy with these other thoughts, what I had to do today, and then what I've got still to do, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And of course, the subconscious mind is there to protect us and
Mhm.
look after us. So it comes forward and says, "Yeah, well, I know how you drive the car. I know you have to stop at the stoplight. I know you have to give way at this intersection. So
Mhm.
I'll
Yeah.
just take
Yeah.
over. You keep processing all this stuff in your frontal lobe. That's fine. I'll get you
I
home
love that.
safely."
I love it. I've used, long car drives as an amazing thinking tool. Like if I've got a lot on my mind, I might think, I'm going to take a drive, to visit my brother or something for the weekend. And that gives me 10 hours in the car to just,
Yep.
and I get there, I barely even notice I spent 10 hours in the car, but I did some excellent thinking.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. And
I've
that's
worked
quite
it all
natural.
out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing with the horses too, because you find it's such a good time for processing. You go out, you trust your horse. This is not someone who's terrified to go out on the trails. But if you trust your horse and you enjoy going out on the trails, you can go out and ride for a couple of hours. You don't have to think about anything.
Yeah.
Your horse is just plodding along. Your subconscious takes care of it because you know how to ride, and then you can do all this thinking. You've got the peace and the quiet, the birds singing, out in the country, and it's amazing therapy in itself.
Yeah. It really is. I love it. Well,
Yeah.
it has been an amazing chat with you today, and
Thank
I don't
you.
want to keep you any longer. So it's been a pleasure to have you on my chat, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Tricia. It's been wonderful speaking with you. Thank you for inviting me along.
Of
And yeah,
course.
maybe we can catch up again in the future.
Oh, that would be lovely. I would like that very
Yeah.
much.